Hey everybody, Joe Joseph here, and this is your dailysheeple.com news brief. And I want to start off with the New York Post, a great piece that I have to tell you, I wasn't really surprised at this. Not at all, because my friends Aaron and Melissa Dykes, myself, and other people in alt media have been warning people not to get your hopes up too much over a President Trump. That's not to say that it's not the lesser of two evils when it came to choosing between a Hillary or a Trump, even though there were other choices there. Your main two, you were stuck with crap either way you put it. And what we found out, just like we find out or have found out in past elections, a la 2008, right? When hope and change was all the rage, and people were sorely disappointed to find out it was nothing but a continuation of George Bush, that what's said on the campaign doesn't translate over to a presidency. And New York Post reports that President Trump, or soon-to-be President Trump, won't pursue charges against Hillary Clinton. Interesting quote here. This is a quote by Kellyanne Conway, his campaign manager. It says, "I think when the president-elect, who's also the head of your party, tells you before he's even inaugurated he doesn't wish to pursue these charges, it sends a very strong message, tone, and content to those to the members." Let me stop there. What kind of strong message is that? What are you talking about? That's not a strong message. That's weak. That is cowardly. That is no bueno for Main Street Joe America. And she continues, she says, look, I think he's thinking of many different things as he prepares to become president of the United States, and things that sound like the campaign are not among them. So, Ms. Conway is basically validating the point that what was said and what promises were made in the campaign, again, will not translate to a Trump presidency. She said this during an interview on MSNBC's Morning Joe. Now, what kills me is independent media outlets, and in this case, InfoWars, did a article that they changed the title 3 times on because of the backlash it looks like they received, especially in the comments section, because they're, for lack of a better term, up Trump's tuchus. When really, remember, the job of the press is to be the fourth estate. It's not to choose sides. If you are an independent media outlet, and I say independent meaning independent, then you don't have sides. You follow the truth no matter where the truth takes you. But in this case, they've changed their title multiple times. Now it says, Trump goes high, wants Hillary to heal rather than in prison. Okay, question. How is that going high? How is not having accountability for somebody that was head of the State Department, how is that going high? Again, this is a psychological play on words. It is not going high. It is going low, because if you do not hold these people to a standard, this behavior will continue. There are no consequences for the action. However, if you are a civil servant, especially a civil servant at the GS level, and you do something that violates protocol or procedure, and believe me, my friends, I know this. I have firsthand experience with this. You will lose your job, and you will be persecuted for it. There's no, and it's bad. Oh, they'll run you through the coals, over the coals. They'll rake you. But if you're high enough, the law doesn't apply to you. What kind of message is that sending to the American people? And for all of America out there, I have to ask you, why is this acceptable? Why is it okay only because, oh, Trump did it? It's okay now. Obama did it. It wasn't okay when Obama was doing it. Why is it okay now when Trump does it? These are things you have to ask yourself. Don't be enamored and don't be part of the cult of personality, because that's what this is. You are falling for the cult of personality. It has nothing to do with the individual himself. And already he's discredited himself by what he promised and what he says he's not going to do. And one thing that the American people yearn for and have yearned for quite some time is accountability in government. And shame on independent media outlets that do not hold true to what independent media is supposed to do. And that, my friends, is simple. Follow the truth wherever the truth leads you. It doesn't matter about how you like the guy, what your personal feelings are, what your political affiliation is, who your sponsors are, what your demographic is that you're shooting for, because at the end of the day, it's our job to be that fourth estate that provides the accountability to and the coverage to the people. You know, this is the important thing. This is what's been lost. And what he said, I want to help him, Hillary heal, comes right from Kissinger. Flashback to President Gerald Ford. He just assumes the presidency after Nixon resigns. What does he do? Pardons Nixon. A lot of people were outraged over the fact that he pardoned Nixon. But why did he do it? Because I want this nation to heal. That doesn't heal a nation. You know what heals a nation? Accountability heals a nation. Much like a child who does something wrong. You hold them accountable so that they learn from their mistakes, so they don't repeat the same mistakes again. And what happens when you don't have accountability? We repeat the same mistakes. SHTFplan.com. Kissinger says Trump need not keep positions taken in the campaign. Promises are pillow talk, baby. Think about that. Kurt Nimmo wrote this, and we, SHTF Plan has mirrored it. Says, elder statesman, Rockefeller confident, and master war criminal Henry Kissinger told the globalist Fareed Zakaria, voters are not going to get what was advertised with Donald Trump. Here's Kissinger, quote, one should not insist on nailing Trump into positions that he had taken in the campaign. I can't talk like Mr. Frog, but so keeping campaign promises made to voters is counterproductive, according to Mr. Kissinger. And he commended Trump on the effectiveness of his campaign tactics. And the former Secretary of State added, the art now would be to develop a strategy that is sustainable. Got to embrace that globalism, which he will. Now, he'll put a facade on and say, okay, well, we're going to renegotiate. But at the end of the day, you're still going to have globalism because that's where they're going. Just so you know, all you people out there that love the nationalist thing, that want that, that's all well and good. And he may throw some crumbs your way, but it's not going to be what you're looking for. Mr. Kissinger continued. He says, the art now would be to develop strategy that is sustainable, that meets the concerns that have appeared during the campaign, but that can be linked to some of the main themes of American foreign policy. Bada boom, bada bing. There you go. And these are the people that are advising him. So all of you people out there that say, oh, well, it's too early to say, if you look at the past and you're a student of history, real history, you can predict almost to a certainty future events. So go back and take a look just during your lifetime and say, based on my life experience and my observations and my research, what can I predict is going to happen based on past events? Knowing who he's surrounding himself with and knowing who these people are and what their stances are on things, I'm telling you, it ain't going to be what you think it is. Charles Hugh Smith of his website, charleshughsmith.blogspot.com, also of2minds.com, wrote a brilliant piece. It's called The Triumph of the Empty Gesture. I want to share this with you real quick before I get into some other exciting news. He says, politics is the art of the symbolic gesture. The successful symbolic gesture gains gravitas by crystallizing a narrative that attracts a consensus that then powers policies of substance. The politics as usual gesture is empty of substance, serving only to mask collusion and failure. Soaring rhetoric is carefully engineered to mimic successful symbolic gestures of the past, but the purpose isn't to power positive policies. The goal is to distract the audience by making them feel that participating in empty gestures is a substitute for real-world actions of substance. The net result is we now inhabit a culture that relies on empty gestures and feel-good appeals to past glories. The reliance on empty gestures and appeals to past glories typifies regimes in decline. Historian Michael Grant described this decay of purpose and substance in his short book, The Fall of the Roman Empire. And here's a quote from it. It says, "There was no room at all in these ways of thinking for the novel apocalyptic situation which has now arisen, a situation which needed solutions as radical as itself. The status quo attitude is a complacent acceptance of things as they are without a single new idea. This acceptance was accompanied by greatly excessive optimism about the present and future. Even when the end was only 60 years away and the empire was already crumbling fast, Rutilius continued to address the spirit of Rome with the same supreme assurance. The blind adherence to these ideas of the past ranks high among the principal causes of the downfall of Rome. If you were sufficiently lulled by these traditional fictions, there was no call to any practical first aid measures at all. This decay of purpose and substance in favor of empty gestures intended to symbolize progressive values, and it's infected the entire culture. Rather than do something substantial and risky to change our neo-feudal mode of production, people change their photo on Facebook in a display that serves to satisfy their desires to do something but which avoids any actual cost or risk. As a result of this reliance on empty gestures, we become a culture that buys filtered tap water in plastic bottles that end up fouling our waterways. Think about it. Feeding the Great Pacific Trash Gyre, trashing the planet to show the world that we care about our health by buying corporate America's filtered tap water. The list of comically delusional empty gestures is essentially endless. The ecology bumper stickers on the fuel-wasting SUVs, the public purchases of healthy supplements that can't possibly offset a diet of junk food, signing online petitions that's really just an email collection tool for spammers, wearing an American flag lapel pin as a public display of content-free patriotism, and a wretch-provoking abundance of similar displays of progressive or religious self-righteousness. Public displays of empty gestures are no substitute for actions. You want a more progressive economy and culture? Turn off the mainstream media. Start working on ways to extricate yourself from the state cartel matrix. Get out of debt. Stop taking on more debt. Start growing your own food. If you have no yard, in a community garden then. Use less of everything. Start with energy in all its forms. Focus on degrowth. Build your own networks of transparency. Share practical knowledge and reciprocity. Start using decentralized cryptocurrencies. And most importantly, just do the work. Don't make empty gestures as a substitute for actions that require time, effort, money, and risk. Every minute wasted on self-righteous empty gestures or viewing someone else's self-referential, self-aggrandizing empty gestures is a minute you could have been doing something useful. Please ponder these 3 aphorisms of action. Do the thing, and you shall have the power. That's by Ralph Waldo Emerson. We are what we repeatedly do. That's Aristotle. And finally, John Paul Jones. He who will not risk cannot win. That was Charles Hugh Smith of twominds.com. Amazing, amazing piece. And so true. So true. People are lulled by a cult of personality and a bunch of empty gestures. That's it. That's all it takes. That's how shallow we've become. Charlotte Iserby wrote a great book, The Deliberate Dumbing Down of America. The Reese Committee back in the 1950s, led by Norman Dodd, showed that the endowments have been trying to dumb down America since the turn of the 20th century. Yet we still buy into a broken system. Why? Why? It's unbelievable, folks. These are the things that we have to break free from. And you cannot buy into the Trump cult of personality. Please do not. That's not to say you can't support his policies or whatever. That's fine. We are men and women of our own free will. And you are free to do what you want to do. But don't be naive. Don't be naive. Be independent. Be an independent thinker and do what it is that you have to do, which is be a good vanguard of this country for your progeny's sake. Good grief. In other news, The Independent. Now, here's a great piece of news. Holy crap, something comes out of the UN that actually might be beneficial. World leaders call for the legalization of drugs. Wow, my heart skipped a beat. And that's not because I don't care if you're a druggie or whatever. It doesn't matter. You know? The fact is, prohibition has never worked. Never worked. And when it was there, look at what government did here in the United States. It's deplorable what's been done to people. For what? When nobody's civil liberties were impinged, just people doing what they wanted to do to their own property, their bodies, right? But if you don't know, let me remind you, or let me educate you as to what our government did during Prohibition with alcohol during the 1920s. Because there was a program called the Federal Poisoning Program that was instituted that poisoned industrial alcohols and even some non-industrial alcohols to scare people into not drinking that alcohol. And so they would poison it. It was called the Federal Poisoning Program. And they would poison the alcohol, and then people would drink this alcohol in the speakeasies and or buy it in their home. They killed over 10,000 people during Prohibition because they were doing it for your own safety. They killed 10,000 people for your safety because they know what's best for you, my friends. And so now, all of these people, let's also remember, marijuana prohibition. It was the Schaefer Commission in 1971 that came out and said, wow, this is way heavy-handed. We need to decriminalize, right? This was back in 1971 that Nixon commissioned Governor Schaefer of Pennsylvania. And what happened? Schaefer puts it out. He was supposed to come out with a scathing report that demonized it. Instead, he's like, wow, we've got this all wrong. And Nixon buries it. Why? Because the hippies were one of his biggest protest demographics during the Vietnam War. And so were the African Americans when it came to civil rights. And so what did he do? He needed to demonize them. How do you do it? Controlled Substances Act. So, in Nixon tape number 3, he went over it with Art Linkletter. You know? He wanted to demonize the hippies. They're a bunch of marijuana smoking, blah, 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 you know? put them in prison. That's when, we have the prison industrial complex. You start driving that prison industrial complex, and he's making his bubbas, and all these successive presidents and congressmen, they make billions of dollars off of the labor of people that really, truly have committed no crime. Because remember, under the rule of law, the way that this country was founded, it's no victim, no crime. If there's no injured party, there's no crime. I mean, it's amazing, folks. It's a total and complete sham. You want to get people off of drugs? You want to get people off of anything they may be addicted to? It's education. It's education. And if they do want to do it, provide them a place to do it. They'll probably pay for it. It's unbelievable that we've become such a judgmental culture, such a prejudicial culture, the I know what's best for you attitude. No one knows what's best for you but you. Why would you accept that? Folks, I mean, there's a lot of things that we need to do and a lot of self-reflecting that we need to do. No doubt about it. And I challenge everybody out there to do that, to check it out. Your stances on things. Are you falling prey to the cult of personality? Can you answer that honestly without getting PO'd? Self-reflection sometimes can be a difficult thing. But I think if more of everybody out there, because I've done a lot of it, and if more of you people can do it, I'm telling you, you won't be disappointed. I'm Joe Joseph. This was the DailySheeple.com's Daily News Brief. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and like us on Facebook and subscribe to our newsletter. Some great stuff that comes out there. And I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a good night, everybody.